should be the best days of your life, shouldn't it? This type of old-fashioned tour is rugby in its purity, and long may it continue.
This is your third tour, mate.
You can't do any more, really, which is great. So,
No, you literally can't.
They told me that you guys were here, so I rushed back to make sure I contribute to your roaring financial success.
Says you.
You've got 3 very different fly halves, allowing you to play 3 very different styles of play, which is intriguing.
Not about me at all. It's about us and the Lions being successful, and that's all I care about.
Will you reach out to them between now and then?
They've had enough praise today. Their heads will be big enough.
What's happened? I'm 124 kilo. What's happened to me?
Our names weren't called out, but we're all right. We're all right. We've got good memories from 2013, so we're okay.
You need to be a realist. That's obvious.
This is the For Love of Rugby Lions Squad announcement special. How good?
Coley, we've done our first ever live stream on YouTube. It was awesome. You can still check it out. Now I've had a chance to kind of reflect on it. So this is a bit of a mashup from some of that, some of the headlines we've spoken about, and some very Bruno-esque exclusive interviews. Some raw reactions with some of the lads that got picked.
Yeah. Oh no, it's great. So it's actually buzzing. I think the live stream was, well, good. I think like some great question stuff that we did, and I say watching it live, it was awesome watching the squad announcement. It's been fascinating which guys have been picked, how you're going to play, and I say it's also seeing the reactions on the stream of like all on TV of how, you know, like your Thomas Williams, how emotional he was and that kind of stuff, and then it's also speaking to the guys, some of the guys we got lined up. It's I'm actually properly excited for Lions. This is, before today I was probably a bit apprehensive in regards to the Lions stuff, but actually today I feel I'm excited for it.
I tell you what it reinforced to me, speaking to the lads that we have done and speaking to Andy and Maro, is it reinforced how special it is. And that moment of finding out you're going and being selected is incredible. And I think speaking to these guys, you can just sense in their voice, their mood, and it's so good. I suppose let's just quickly chat in. Pollock's in. He was a bit of a bolter that a lot of people spoke about. I think what he did at the weekend and the fact that the stuff he does moving forward with the ball and his pace he has is a real point of difference. Given the fact that Andy seemed to have picked a real sort of dynamic, fast, sort of forward pack, back line, you can see that sort of style he wants to play.
Looking at the squad, I look at, say, the back rowers he's picked, and there's probably only one. Obviously, Doris is injured, but like Conan's probably out and out 8, and the rest of the guys, Van der Flier, Earl, Pollock, Curry, like they're all Morgan. They're not like 6'5", 120 kilo blokes. They're sort of 6 foot guys that can carry a ball, run around the field, tackle, and like just like animals. You know what I mean? They're constantly involved, like real high involvement guys that get loads of involvements, and you know Pollock and stuff can run. And you see his ball carrying ability. So you kind of look at that, and you look at, say, the selection of Luke Cowan-Dickie, a lot of guys. You pick the 2 Irish guys, but then you probably pick, say, Jamie George, and you think because his set piece is settling. Whereas like you look at Cowan-Dickie, you look at the way he plays, like an extra back rower, him running around, buzzing around the field, tackling everything. You look at the sort of the back line. It's probably not a team that's built. It's not a massive back line.
Not built around size, is it?
Yeah, and power. Like you haven't got like a Manu in there, but you do have like your Freemans and your Van der Merves and stuff who are big guys. And I look at that and look at the team, and you kind of go, they look to play. You know, I predict that they're probably Australia, as we know. It's funny because like Australia and Joe Smith sort of play a bit like Ireland, but then Ireland play like Ireland because of Joe Smith. So it's sort of like the Joe Smith sort of world, you know what I mean? It's almost like trying to out Schmidt in some regards by picking a team that's almost builds on your super strengths. And you think, probably you'd look at that and go, maybe both teams aren't going to kick the ball off the field. They're going to be high possession. Like both teams going out. Like Australia tries to play like over 100 phases and stuff. Like Ireland have a high phase count, especially when they get in the opposition half. And you look at that and you look, there's 2 teams that almost, I don't know if the ball's going to go off the field in honesty. You know what I mean? Like it's almost like those teams, you look at them, like especially the Lions, they're almost going to run you into the ground and play. And especially those back rowers that they're there, they can do that.
They'll find a clear identity of how they want to do it.
And even if you look at like...
But it'll swing towards that way.
But you look at the second rows and stuff, there's no, like, because you look at Cummings, who's probably maybe a bolter in regards to, like, you could pick...
Well, you wouldn't have necessarily seen Cummings.
No.
I mean, for me, I didn't really think about him.
But you think like the sort of, Itoje's a nailed on pick. And you got the sort of 2 Irish, well, you got Ryan, McCarthy and Beirne, who Beirne's sort of 5'6", but they're sort of the Irish second rows. You've got Chessum, who's a big bloke, but he's athletic. He can run around, he can carry, he can do that. And then you kind of like look at it and you're like, Cummings also fits that athletic mold. Do you have like Gilchrist and Will Rowlands, who are big, typical, so I'd say tight locks at, set piece, push behind, maul, brawl, and the big guys, and they've been good in the Six Nations, but Cummings is probably a bit lighter and more athletic in his line up forward and run around. So it's almost like you look at it and you look at that team and it's built to run in some regards.
Well, it is. And then you start putting Chessum in, they put Tadhg Beirne in there. It is built to run. It's built to move, be a very dynamic team. Caelan Doris, we've got to mention him. News broke earlier in the week that he needed surgery. Clearly, Andy Farrell would have had dialogue with him. It's going to be longer than... He can't turn around. Like Alan Wynne turned it around in 2021. He's not going to be any good. Huge loss for... I think the Lions, because the way that he plays, he is that dynamic 8. Conan, obviously the out-and-out 8 now. Ben Earl can play there. But I feel for him. He's been brilliant for Ireland. Been captain of Ireland, of course. So gutted to see him miss out through injury, which is never nice.
So with you look at the squad, probably there's a big debate area beforehand about the fly half battle, so to speak, because, Finn Russell's probably he's a veteran and probably nailed on in some regards. Then it just came down between like Marcus, Finn Smith, and Prendergast, who knows the Irish system, knows how they play. You actually look at like the back line, there's pretty much the Irish 9, 12, 13, 11, 14, 15 have all been picked. So 10's the only position, and that's kind of there was a debate around it, wasn't there? But actually it's probably not, the selections almost make sense in some regards.
The selections do make sense, and I think given what happened at the weekend, and I've been pretty vocal about it on the pod, to be fair, about Prendergast and what we saw against France, and what I saw again at the weekend. And I think ultimately it was always that thing of, does he take him because he can fit into the system that perhaps he wants to play, and he's that system sort of player. But it's the right decision with who they've gone with. I think picking Finn Russell, I think on form, when he plays well, what he can bring, I'm looking forward to seeing that. I think you then got Finn Smith, who can actually play that system really, really well.
That's what I was going to say.
And I think he's going to snap it.
I look at those 3 fly halves and I see them as individual. I see Finn Smith as he's obviously got great physicality and all that kind of stuff and the ability to pick a gap, but he's almost like a system player. He can run that system, whereas I think like Finn Russell's more of a... he lets the forwards carry, then steps up and puts someone through a hole. He senses space and swings around and does that kind of stuff.
He's a great maverick controller, but gets the ball to width unbelievably well. Better than the others, I'd say. Yeah,
and then Marcus is very much like, he gets the ball and if there's a hole in front of me, I can create a hole, or he's got the athleticism to go for it and kick, return, that kind of stuff. And you sort of saw with like England probably in the Six Nations when it shifted a bit to sort of like Finn Smith probably involved more of the centres and got more at the wingers like your Freemos and stuff like that than Marcus did, because Marcus is such a dynamic athlete that it's almost on for him all the time. And that's, so I look at, there's 3 different sort of fly halves, styles of fly halves there. But if you say to like who's probably, if you wanted a system fly half, you probably go, well, Prendergast. But then you actually look at Finn Smith and go, he can do that system. And with the added bits that he brings, like his knowledge from outside the system and his physicality and all that kind of stuff. So yeah,
he's just way further down the line for me than Prendergast is.
But I think,
but he fits the system.
I think
he can play the system.
I think he could push for test starts.
I agree,
because Russell's probably the nailed on. He would be the starter if you named it, say today, maybe based on experience. But I think actually getting him in the system, getting him playing, Finn Smith is he could be. But then again, Marcus at the same time has the ability to, a couple of good games on tour, playing with people.
The thing with Marcus, and I think I totally agree with you, Coley. I think Finn Smith can play that system very, very well. I think he's a terrific player. I think Finn Russell gets the ball to the edge better than any other 10, and the way he creates opportunities for others, like through distribution and short kicking game. But what Marcus brings is something that that the other 2 don't necessarily have in their game yet, which is an incredible individual threat, an ability to break defences out of nothing. And I think that 10, when they land in Australia, I think it's all up for grabs between those 3. And I think some of it's going to be, when you land on tour, when you arrive on tour, Colin, what it's like. You've got your systems, you've kind of got the way you like to play. But it doesn't always, it changes a little bit. And, because certain players come into form and they may be better at, they might suit the power game perhaps. So the 10 debate is going to go all the way, I think, right until the first test. The moment you say Finn Russell on the back of more experience, somebody you could probably trust a bit more, because he's been there, done it. But both Smiths are going to be snapping at his heels. And I think they've got a real luxury of what they can do there.
And also, if you do have, say, a Gibson-Park and a Bundee at 12 and even like a Ringrose maybe at 13, like having, if they know a system, then like a Finn Smith probably it elevates him because he can do that. Whereas, you know, and it's easier to slot in because there's people around him that know it and he can just do it. I'm not saying the other guys couldn't, but again, as you say, there are different styles and how to play. But then at the same time, if you go to Australia, some of the greatest Lions tries aren't system-based like a 21 pattern and this kind of stuff. It's individual brilliance of making like we watched Sean O'Brien's tries, isn't it? Where Tone pins ear back passes to Lynn and they just go for it, and it's all the it's those individual athletes and the football ability they're born with is almost those tries that win you test matches.
It is. And I think the other thing as well I want to mention is just the guys inside, like you say, Gibson-Park there will complement them. If you look at Alex Mitchell, Gibson-Park, Thomas Williams, like they all have a great style, a similar style, in terms of high tempo, great ruck speed, great ball distribution in terms of the speed as well. But they're all running threats. They're all absolute threats. And I think you complement them with the dynamic back row that he's picked, mate. And I'm really excited. And I think that all those guys are talented enough to slot in with any of those 10s. So the half-back pairing debate will go on all the way into the first test, I believe. But I was delighted to see both Alex Mitchell get named in it, and of course Finn Smith as well, and of course Marcus Smith. So see the English lads go there. Tough on 40 because he's someone that's a great player.
Play a system, yeah,
and he can play a system brilliantly. Yeah. And it's mad to think that probably at his age, this was his last shot of making a Lions tour. So,
but I look at that squad and some of the other players as well. It's like Kinghorn's say the only French-based player, but he also played every game in the Six Nations. He played well. He did. And I look at that squad and a lot of those guys, you know, Pollock didn't, but he's sort of been playing so well he can't ignore him. Maybe Tadhg Furlong didn't play all the games in Six Nations, but he's got Lions history and he's class. And you know, there's not loads of Titans that look like him and play like him. So, but you look at the rest of the squad, it's kind of like there's a lot of great guys who played really well in the Six Nations. And I'm not saying it's picked on form, but you know, it picked on current guys who were doing it here and now. And I think 40 maybe missed out because he didn't play as much. You know, sat behind those two England, a 6-2 bench and that kind of stuff, and he didn't play. But he showed his class when he did. And so you feel for him as he's a mate of ours, but you can understand why you can understand why Farrell's picked the squad he's picked because of, everyone seems to be in form and played well in the Six Nations, as competitive as it's ever been.
Well, let's hear from that man. Andy Farrell joins us. So he named the squad, and this is our conversation when we caught up with him. Faz, can you hear us all right, mate?
Got you.
Happy days. Oh, well, we're all right. We're licking our wounds. You know, our names weren't called out, but we're all right. We're all right. We've got good memories from 2013, so we're okay.
You need to be a realist. That's obvious.
It's a very dynamic squad, mate, and both of us are very much past that. But I want to ask, Faz, given you coached us before in 2013 and how good that was, how much emphasis are you going to focus on sort of the cohesion and sort of the tour culture of sort of that old school Lions touring philosophy?
Oh, it's a must. It's a must. That's what it should be. It should be the best days of your life, shouldn't it? You two guys have been there. Hopefully, a couple of the tours that you've been on were exactly that. That's how it should be. It's the pinnacle of rugby. So making it special, making sure that the lads bond and forge those friendships, those memories forever. I'm sure a lot of those friendships and memories have been on this podcast, and you've used that to its fruition in the last year or so. So, you say about the old-fashioned tour, it certainly is that, Benny. As far as the schedule's concerned, you know, a lot of these lads that have been selected, they don't know or haven't been through that type of experience. I think this type of old-fashioned tour is rugby in its purity, and long may it continue.
In regards to the rugby side of things, the squad you pick, like the guys you play, seem to be incredibly dynamic and almost set up for, like, I say, high ball in play. How much of that is sort of like the super strengths of the system you want to play, and how much of that sort of countering what Australia do? There's
a bit of that. I mean, selection of a Lions tour is all about the balance and making sure that you're able to play in a few different ways. You know, we want to find our best way. We want to find our best team over over the games that's going to lead up to the first test. And I think you've seen within the selection, within the versatility of the people that we've selected, what we've done is hopefully create fantastic competition for places as we go. And as you know, when people are competing, that just it either brings people to new heights or it doesn't. You get to find out about each other. But that's got to be our biggest friend on tour: competition for places, and let's see who can own it.
Incredible squad. We're proper excited by seeing who you've named. When was the first time you wrote down that squad, Faz? And when was the last time that you reviewed it?
The first time that I wrote down that squad was at 3:00 yesterday. And
oh, nice.
I actually thought I'd have it done. And this is not me now. This is the whole room of people, and that's involved in that. But I've been asked today, how did it not leak? Well, I don't care whether it's leaked or not. I don't lose any sleep about stuff like that. But what I like to do is to give it time and space, and for people to have this. We met last week, and we've debated this thing for the last 2 months, as you can imagine, and we got down to say 55, and it was tough enough to get down to 55, but. We allowed ourselves time and space over the weekend individually to have your thoughts and come into work on Wednesday morning and let's see what we can do. I didn't know whether we was going to get to 36 or 42. I just stay open-minded enough to make sure that we're able to have the debates, arguments, all of that, so everything gets thrown into the pot so we can do everyone justice.
How much of the guys... consideration of how good of tourists they will be? Obviously, there's some blokes you know really well from Ireland and England, and the blokes that you don't know or you haven't directly coached, how much of the background work have you done finding out about them and how they mingle with the group and how they can be, get on with everyone? Because that's obviously a vital part of touring.
Exactly. You guys both know it's all about the people on tour. It's all about being as good a teammate as you possibly can be. You try to do as much work as you possibly can to find out what makes people tick, the type of character, the demeanour on and off the field. And again, I've really enjoyed the process of getting round to the coaches and the coaches being honest with the feedback in regards to all of that. But I suppose you make a decision at the end because of what you're seeing every week, but what also you've heard from the players that you've not coached or not met, etc. But you don't know until you know. You try to be as thorough as you possibly can be. But from what I can see on that 38 man panel, we've got good people, not just rugby players.
And Faz, how many of those? Obviously, the squad's been announced now. Will you be calling those individuals to congratulate them, or will you wait to see them in person when you first meet up, or will you reach out to them between now and then?
They've had enough praise today. Their heads will be big enough. They won't be able to get through the doors. They'll be the main man in their house tonight, won't they? So I'll leave them to celebrate with the families, etc. And it's not until another 10 days or so that we get together for the first time. So that's, this is great to get to this point today, but when you first meet up, you guys have been there on the messy Sundays or Mondays when you're all getting together trying to tick a load of boxes as far as what needs to be done, getting fitted for your kit, etc. But the great days, and to chew the fat with your new teammates and leave those couple of days super excited for the weeks ahead.
Obviously, Maro being captain, Faz, brilliant to see. When did you first sort of have him on your radar? Obviously, when was the first time you met him? But equally, obviously, he captained England during the Six Nations. Was that the first time you kind of really took in consideration?
He's always on the radar because players like that, as you know who are the leaders. It isn't just about the captaincy; it's about the leadership group in general. And then you start sieving through that, and who's the guy that's going to be at the top of that? And obviously that's your captain. So again, same with the process of selecting the squad. I let it go as long as it possibly can. Of course, we debate it, and with captaincy, you probably get it down to 3 or 4, then 2 or 3, etc. And then I had to get to the point where the decision had to be made by Tuesday. So Maro was the obvious candidate in regards to everything that you need to have to be able to deal with what's ahead of us in the schedule and in the plan, etc. I mean, I've been really impressed. As you know, some people get made captain and the performances dips a little bit because of the extra responsibility. I actually think his form has improved with the extra responsibility, but knowing the character and the person as well. He's a calm, calculated type character. That he's a people person, got good feel, etc. He'll allow people to be themselves. He'll allow others to be able to lead, and he'll have good support in and around all that. To me, that's what a British and Irish Lions captain should be.
Well, mate, we can't wait to watch you go do it. So thanks so much for joining us, Faz. Best of luck. Brilliant to see the squad, and go well, mate. Thanks very much for your time.
Nice to see you, lads. Look after yourselves.
Well, that was our chat with Andy Farrell. Thankfully, very grateful to have it, because he's obviously been rushed off his feet since.
Yeah, bless him. He looked a bit hot and flustered, and he had enough of it.
It's fascinating what I'd say though, like, is in regards to competition for places, and like we sort of he almost made out that he hasn't picked his, like, he's almost picked the squad as late as possible, and was as much competition and guys to say bonding on and off the field. But he said like that competition that got me was like, it either brings out the best in you, or some guys really struggle with it, but they're going to find out, as in, like, you know what I mean? They're going to make it competitive, which is great.
That, and I liked how he spoke about, like, we're going to find our way and find our best. I liked how he is going to embrace, like, the old school touring, which we know it to be, Lions, because it's so important. And he's got a massive emphasis on the cohesion. He knows how important that is. And I think you've got a figurehead there with Andy Farrell. Like, he'll be like the Gatlin in terms of, I see Faz being the Lions coach for the next 12, next 2 cycles.
It was great when he said, like, Lions is the pinnacle. Because I remember some of the guys in sort of New Zealand and probably South Africa as well, in the last talks of COVID and stuff, it probably wasn't the pinnacle.
No, yeah.
Because other circumstances of that. But him saying, like, it's the pinnacle of this guy's career, and I want them to make memories and just it to be brilliant. And you hear that and you're like, that's what it should, you know, that's the Lions. That's what it should be. It should be the pinnacle of guys' careers, and they should be having fun on off field. And because there is so much pressure around it, and you can build it into it's not a World Cup. You know what I mean? It is. And I think the Lions found that probably when the New Zealand in 2005, whatever it was. But you know what I mean? But it is their element of the amateur ethos and the Lions. And I think just having him saying that as the pinnacle is, I think the guys on that tour it will be the pinnacle in some regard.
And he'll do an awesome job at running it. So that was the boss. That was Andy Farrell. And I'll tell you who else I'm buzzing for. Big Red, Ollie Chessum.
I wonder how red he is right now in terms of just it'd be beaming.
Should we hear from him?
Let's hear from him.
Oh, mate, so good. Well done, mate. The sheriff's there. Mate, so
done.
happy for you, mate.
Thanks, mate.
Did you watch it?
Yeah, we had it on. I got mum and brother here. So,
Oh, everyone emotional?
yeah, it was nuts, mate. I was glad I was out early, so I didn't have to stress for too long.
Well, mate, when we were looking through it and we knew your name was next, like alphabetically, we're like, please say it, please say it. So we were like so made up, mate. Could you even concentrate on who else went, or were you just like?
No, I didn't even. As soon as I heard my name, I stopped looking. I was there for about 5 minutes. Yeah. I had to go back and rewatch it.
Amazing, mate. Mate, well done. So deserved. Big Red, mate. You're gonna be a Lion.
I know. It's crazy.
Mate, let it sink
Crazy,
in, mate.
crazy.
Enjoy being with the family, mate, and well done, mate. Me and Coley,
Will do,
honestly,
mate.
mate, so happy for you, bud. Well done.
Thanks, mate.
Fully deserved.
Oh, so happy to hear from Ches. I'm so happy for him, his family. He's a young man, and I think like he's played outstandingly well. Overcome bits and bobs with his like leg break recently, or a couple of years ago and stuff. And, but he's shown his class for England, and I think he's played. I think you look at that squad, it suits his style of. He's big, rangy, carries a ball. Like
I can see him going out there, mate, and I can see him doing a great job. And what I love about it is he's a. Ches is such a good bloke.
As long as he
humble.
takes the sunscreen, he'll tear it out.
Yeah, or his skin will tear. But incredibly humble. But I think someone like that sometimes I don't think they realise how good they can be, you know? And I think this will give him such a confidence in the right way. He'll stay humble and everything like that. But I just think in the right way, he'll realise just how good he can be. I think he's such a freak athlete in many ways. And I think, like you say, Coley, the team selection, the way that clearly they're going to be set up to play, hard grounds in Australia, I think I can see him having a hell of a tour. So great to hear from him.
We also caught up with his England captain and now Lions captain, Maro Itoje.
Maz!
So this is the last thing I have to do today, and well, it actually wasn't on my schedule, but they told me that you guys were here, so I rushed back to make sure I contribute to your roaring financial success.
Says you, mate. Honestly, like it was the worst kept secret, obviously, as of like last night, everything like that. But mate, delight to see you out there. Firstly, though, got to say, full John Terry outfit coming out, love it. But Coley was very disappointed because you didn't have your lifting blocks on. You weren't taped up for a line out, mate. So you didn't fully commit to it. You were like half committed.
Yeah, I didn't have my scrum hat on either. So that would have been funny, to be honest, if I did that. But no, it's awesome.
How was last night's dinner? So we saw you with the legends of the Lions captains and stuff. Was that sort of a surreal moment, or how was that? And did Martin Johnson talk for the entire evening? Is what I want to know. He's a great historian of the game. Yeah,
it was a surreal moment, to be honest. It was one of those moments where it was great. You were just with the icons of the British and Irish rugby, with people who've been there, done it, who've performed at the top level. When you speak about the greats of the game, you're saying the likes of Brian O'Driscoll, Paul O'Connell, Martin Johnson, Sam Wilson, Alan Wynne-Jones, Gavin Hastings, Finlay. So these are guys that are really at the top of their game. They're all retired now, but they were at the top of their game. So to be in that arena and environment was amazing, and they passed on a few gems. One thing that surprised me was Jono was, he was quite lively. He was quite friendly. Every time I've seen him up until that point, he's been quite stern, like very, very serious. But he was cracking jokes and telling stories about yesteryear, and it was nice.
Were the drinks flowing, mate? Is that what you're saying?
No, actually, obviously, I don't really, as you know, I'm not necessarily known for my drinking.
Yes.
But I've got a game this weekend, so I couldn't even drink like that anyway. But it wasn't a heavy night at all. Maz,
the squad that's obviously been selected is incredibly exciting. Out of those guys that have been selected, is there one certain players you look at straight away and think, right, I'm going to lean on them a little bit in terms of the captaincy and just kind of help manage that entire squad? Is there any ones you look at straight away and you think, okay, I'm gonna reach out to him straight away?
I found out the squad as soon as when you guys found out the squad, believe it or not. So I haven't had too much time to dissect it, but there's a number of leaders from their respective nations. We have several captains of whether it's their club or their country who are in the squad. So all of those guys I want to lean on. As I'm sure you guys know, I'm not the one who tries to do everything by himself. I'm not the one who's going to try and dominate proceedings just because I'm captain. I want everyone to have their voice heard, and I want to make sure that we just get to the outcome we want. It's not about me. It's not about me at all. It's about us and the Lions being successful, and that's all I care about.
Well, mate, you're doing an awesome job. We just spoke to Andy Farrell, didn't we, Coley? And he was saying how important it is to build team cohesion on the tour. So from your experience of captaining England recently, but always been part of the leadership group at England for years anyway, and obviously Saracens, what lessons you got there that you'll take straight away?
It's more principles, really. It's more the importance of everyone pushing in the same direction, the importance of trying to get a group of players and a group of men who buy into the common goal. And there's different ways one can do that, and there's different ways you can build team cohesion. But ultimately that's the goal, because when you do that with the talent we've got, with the intellect we've got, I think we can achieve something special.
We're so pleased for you being captain. Say you've been a fantastic leader for England. Say we've played with you, and under you, and you've been in leadership groups, and say you're just a great captain, and we wish you all the best, and we say thank you so much for your time now.
Appreciate it, Matt. Go well, mate.
No worries. Thank you. All the best, guys.
That was good of Maro. He was about to go out the exit door. He thought he's done for the day, but
Then he got to meet us two prats.
And then he knew.
He's probably had all this serious conversation about like lying, the history of it, and
First
he got you
question.
and me asking him about his full kit and dinner. He didn't actually find it tell us what he had for dinner, did he? That was
He didn't tell us what he had for dinner.
Yeah.
And but I love it. No, I think Maro's rise in terms of captaincy.
Yeah. He's always been a leader.
He's always been
even from a young age.
Of course
like,
he has.
He's been, he's always played pretty much 80 minutes for England and Saracens.
Always been in leadership groups.
Always been in leadership groups. And I say, just actually him this year, because he didn't even start off the year as Sarries captain. It's his first sort of year as Sarries captain. He was training before that, then England captain, now Lions captain. It's been probably a long time coming in some regards. I've been disrespectful to other captains, but like he's fully showing his class when he's doing it.
What I really love about Maro, and I know what he'll do, is he's got experience of other tours. He's really aware of like his strengths and some of his blind spots, and he spoke about it to us there. Is that he's going to rely on other guys to bring those bits to the table in terms of helping. But I just know that he'll do an awesome job, and he's someone that, like, the bigger the occasion, the more he delivers. And I just know that again, he'll be action, he'll be into everything. He'll do a great job of leading, and I just think like what's funny is he said on there when he spoke to us about how surrounded by these legends, in his dinner and all that. It's like, Maro, that is you, mate. You are that status. But yeah, what a guy, and brilliant to see. There's a lot of debate about who might be captain, but I think he's proper ran with it since I think given the captaincy at England and just shown what a great job he's done.
Yeah. And we had a few questions on the live stream, didn't we, about like, do second rows make good captains? Why a lot of like, you look at Alan Wynne, you look at Jono, like there's a lot of Paul O'Connell, a lot of Maro, like second rows. And I think partly is, I say they're in and around the action. It's like if they're around the breakdown stuff, so there's a penalty, like they're not running in from 30 metres away like a centre would be and being told to go away. Like they're in the action, they're in the air. And also I think second rows, like front row are involved in individual battles within the scrum. So if that goes badly, that can take away from you. Second rows they see the whole game, they know the tempo of the game, the pace of the game, and they're at the front of it with the physicality. So I think, that's why second rows almost make great captains, because they have to have a pulse of how the game, have a feel of how the game is going.
Hang on, Coley. Elliot Daly's ringing me.
Oh, let's hear what he's got to say.
Egg.
Hello, sir. You right?
Fine, mate. We and Coley were just ringing. We're in the studio and we want to say congrats. We tipped
Thank
you,
you, mate.
we picked you, and it's happened.
I know, it's great. I actually genuinely didn't think I was going to get picked, so...
Were you watching it?
nice.
Where were you watching
Yeah,
it?
literally just got home from training, so I missed like the first 10 minutes of the thing, but then obviously watched the announcement, which was great, yeah.
And
just
then
at home and misses.
Just go
And then
bonkers.
It was weird, because it was like, when you don't expect it at all, I kind of wasn't that... I was nervous when they were reading the names out, but I wasn't nervous before, because I was like, I genuinely don't think I'm going. So either way, I was like just okay with it, if you know what I mean. But obviously very, very happy, yeah.
But Egg, this is your third tour, mate. Third line. That is incredible. You've done all three.
It is mad, yeah. You can't do any more, really, which is great. So,
No,
yeah,
you literally can't.
you can't.
You literally can't.
Luckily, I've got a bit of age on my side, so that's good.
And what was the chat like today? Because obviously Maro's been missing all day from training. So was it just like...
Yeah, it was just sort of
did he call in sick?
Yeah, it was like, Maro's sick, and everyone was like, oh, okay, yeah, cool, and just got on with it. Like everyone knew, but I think well deserved, to be honest. He's probably first name on the team sheet at the moment, so fair play to him.
And then Elliot, what's the in terms of that group that you've seen? Like, which lads are you looking forward to reconnecting with, and which lads are you looking forward to getting to know?
Probably the Welsh lads, because
well, there ain't many of them, mate. So you have to look after them.
No, but the thing is, with those two, like, I think there's obviously quality players, and we play against Thomas all the time. But like, I spoke to him after games, and he seems like an absolute legend of a bloke. But then obviously, like the Irish lads that I played with before, like Tadhg Furlong's already messaged me and stuff. So like, it's been nice to see them again.
That's unbelievable.
It'd be class.
I'll leave you to get back to the family because I hear the little one crying. But Egg, congratulations, mate.
Thanks, mate.
Delighted for
Cheers.
you. How good? How good? Cheers,
Thanks,
mate.
Ed. See you later. Bye.
What a guy. Elliot Daly. It's his third tour, mate. He's you hear there he's surprised. But I think in the back of mind, his versatility, his experience, his like the fact he can play in the centres, in the back three. Like, he brings versatility, which the Lions need, because people can go down injured with a dead leg and miss the game. Or
and Wednesday, Saturday.
And also say, because some of the injuries, like, it's hard to fly a bloke out. If someone goes down on a Saturday or a Wednesday, it's hard to fly a bloke out to cover training. You know what I mean? Like, if a winger goes down, they're going to take a week to get there or 3 days to get there and not be available to train straight away. So having that versatility, positional versatility, is as crucial as his experience. And also, let's not like be around the bush. His class and the fact
he's a great player.
He's a great player.
And this is what annoys me is like, some people forget this. They have such short-term memory. Like, he's a terrific player. He showed that back in the Six Nations when he got slotted back in.
Even then, there's people saying, "Oh, what's he playing?"
What they're doing, and
it's actually brilliant.
He's
and
brilliant.
We know that, and I think everyone that knows him and players that play with him know how brilliant he is. And I wouldn't say he's underappreciated because he's on 3 Lions tours, but I think in some people's eyes, he's not given the credit that he really should do.
But also, Coley, like, as you mentioned there, Tadhg Furlong's already messaged him. He has a lot of connections with those guys already. 3rd Lions tour for him. Faz will know what a great guy he is around the environment. Yeah. Elliot is, like, he doesn't run out of energy. He brings a lot of energy every day.
He only runs out when he's asleep.
Well,
as soon as he's up, he's
full of it. And he's in a great way. And he'll bring that cohesion and he'll bring a lot of energy and buzz. And again, you just need people in there that know what the Lions tour's about. And he'll slot straight in and he'll show the youngsters and show guys that haven't been on the Lions tour, like, this is how you do it. Like, embrace getting to know each other. Embrace having a drink after a Wednesday match, then turning up the next day and bringing it in training like he will. And I think all that's so vital, as Faz said, earlier when we caught up with him, it's very clear. Like, some players you have to pick on knowing that they're great tourists.
I'll tell you else is a great tourist, Ben. And that's our mate, Ellis Genge.
One of the best. Right, let's hear from him. Yeah. Mate, well done. Oh, Daddy Daycare comes first. Oh, mate, how good. He's dressed as a lion, is he? He's dressed as a lion. Genji. Raf, I love your outfit. You're dressed as a lion.
Right.
Genji, I got 2 questions. One, did your car pass its MOT?
Yeah, it did. Yeah, I just got back from the garage.
Can we just check that? Was that his body on the screen?
And was that your body on the screen? Because they put up they put your face up when you got announcement, and it didn't look like your body because you're a lot bigger than that.
I wouldn't even really look. When you know the crack. My eyes were like blurred. My heart was pounding. I looked up and I heard it, and I was like, "Thank fuck." But mate, my body, I thought, what's happened to me? I'm 124 kilo. What's happened to me?
Oh, so good. Mate, congrats, Genji. Well done, bud. Honestly, we loved it when you got read out. So I'll leave you with the kids, but mate, well done. Class.
Thank you, boys.
Cheers, buddy. Bye,
Cheers, boys.
Genji, MOT passed.
Yeah.
That's not his body.
What a day.
And Raf, his little boy's already got a lion's outfit on. He's literally dressed in a full kid's outfit. The only thing that's like, those outfits like dinosaurs used to get, but just his face is out. The rest has got this mane on him and all sorts. So good.
This episode is brought to you by Thriver. If you go to their website, in the episode description, you can get 20% off your first blood test if you use the code LOVEOFRUGBY. You
do, Coley. And with retirement fast approaching, I'm fully aware of getting totally out of shape. And I've been able to track it since January. And I'll continue to track that. But the main thing for me that I'm worried about is cholesterol. I know you had a battle with cholesterol. And I reckon that I might have the same battle moving forward. So I've got my markers. I'm going to track them and see where they end up once I've retired.
It's been great doing our Thriver journey. We've had it for a few months now. I've had a couple of blood tests and it's been really good to track that. And we'll continue tracking, especially you into retirement. But we've got to keep you healthy, mate.
We have to keep me healthy.
If you'd like to make more informed choices about your lifestyle, give Thriver a go. You can use the link in our episode description and use the code LOVEOFRUGBY to get 20% off your first blood test.
That's Love of Rugby for 20% off your first blood test. Delighted for Genji.
He missed out 4 years ago, so it is delighted.
I agree.
I think he's
This one was never in doubt.
No. The fact he's played the Six Nations, I think he was like the form Lou said. He's also been a leader for England and he's really sort of not grown up in the past 4 years, but he's really matured and I think he definitely deserves his spot. And so he's brilliant to see.
What I love about Genge is he will epitomise what the Lions is, where if you know Genge, you love him. But if you've played against him and don't really know him, you'll have maybe preconceived ideas of him.
Yeah.
And I guarantee that people will love him on that tour.
Yeah.
Like they will, because the way he is, like you can't help but
you
love
see
him.
him play, he's abrasive.
Yes,
he's
aggressive.
He's standoffish, but that's that's how he plays. And I think when guys actually get to know him and they sit down for a beer or a coffee, whatever it is, he's one of those blokes that he will make lifelong friends. But you know what I mean? Like those say people have totally changed perceptions of him, get to know him and actually see what a great bloke he is. And
he'll bring the team together. Do you know what I love as well on the call we had with him is the fact that all his kids is dressed as Lions.
Yeah.
So he's like, thank God I got picked. He's actually check the photo out. We'll put it up. We'll also check his Instagram out. It's very amusing. Otherwise that'd have been a very awkward, but delighted for him.
Should we have a bit of a tactical chat? I've got a guy on the line that we could speak to.
Well, it can only be one person. And that is, of course, Squidge. Robbie and Will from Squidge Rugby is with us. Gents, thoughts on the Lions? The selection has finally been made.
Really, really interesting squad. I think largely safe, largely as expected, but there's a few real curveballs in there. There's a few of the Irish players perhaps you were expecting didn't get in. There's a few Scott Cummingses and Luke Cowan-Dickies of the world who
Henry
perhaps...
Pollock's even.
Yeah. Well, Henry Pollock's I think we're talking about, but there's a few... Cowan-Dickie and Cummings were quietly going about their business and have snuck in ahead of a few others we had more likely.
Daly as well.
Yeah.
Raised a few eyebrows.
So really exciting, really interesting squad that sets up for a really good tour.
You know, like for so long, we've just been speculating, wondering who's coming, like who's going to be selected, especially around 10, even like locks and back rows and things like that.
Yeah.
Myself and Cole were chatting really, so we'll be intrigued to see what you guys think. But we very much felt like it was a selection that suits going to Australia and playing against Australia. You know, like how necessarily like you don't always pick. You know, had it been touring South Africa, for instance, or New Zealand, then maybe there would have been some other calls made in certain positions. But
The pack is very different.
the pack is very different. I'd agree with that.
We overestimated how much Farrell would be reliant on the system that he's worked with Ireland for the last few years. That actually, in a few places, he's just picked kind of the better player rather than the player who will play his system better, if that makes sense.
He also mentioned about his the hybrid player as well. And there's quite a few players that fall into that category.
Yeah, and that was the interesting thing, was particularly in the forwards. I think we talked a lot about will it be Ryan Baird or Courtney Laws or someone that can cover that back row and lock position. And that didn't happen. They didn't look at that. They took an extra outright lock in, Scott Cummings instead, or James Ryan, depending on which way you want to look at it. And I think that's an interesting call because, again, that back row is pretty shorn of line-out jumpers. It isn't like last time when Gatlin exclusively took line-out jumping back rowers. So I thought that was an interesting point.
The back row is, I would say, smaller in stature than previously. And say Conan's probably your only like out and out 8. And you say if you talk about running into at some point they have to run into collisions and run into car crashes with Australia, and he's probably the main ball carrier. The other guys can carry a ball, but you expect him to be sort of in wider channels and running into holes and running off backs in some regards rather than straight off the breakdown. So it'll be interesting in that regard. And as you say, it'll be, I guess you probably have the Tadhg, Beirne, Chessums that if the line out, maybe they're not expecting many line outs in Australia as well. You know what I mean? Like they're expecting the ball to stay on the field, because I look at that and I think the ball's probably going to stay on the field for a long period of time. So you want back rowers that can run. Like the back line as well isn't, I know these probably haven't got, there's no like Manu Tulagis or big, even like Henshaw's, like big sort of ball carriers. I know Aki and Tuipulotu, probably those are the guys, but they're the ones that they still can move. Your size is probably in Freeman and Van der Merwe, isn't it? So it's like, even that back line you think is probably built to ball in play and run around. So it'll be fascinating to see if that is what they are predicting. Because it's almost like, how do you, say Ireland, Joe Smith, Australia, it's almost like they're trying to, out-Schmidt each other in some regards, rather than going the other end of the spectrum where you literally just go, we're going to pick our biggest, stodgiest team and, play this way, beat you up. And say, whereas it's almost like you're going to have two teams, you could say, potentially playing, it's almost like the Lions almost want to go play faster than Australia in some regards.
Yeah, that's one of the interesting questions, because I don't think that squad necessarily, I think it doesn't fit the way Ireland play. I think the fly-off's the interesting question because they haven't gone for Sam Prendergast, who knows that system inside out. Instead, they've gone for 3 10s who are, you'd say, better players. But the edge that Prendergast had is he knows the attack inside out, and would Farrell have favoured that was the question mark. And he hasn't gone for that. He's gone for talent, at an overall level.
Adaptability as well.
Yeah. You've gone, Finn Smith had that brilliant game at the weekend, showed the game management there. And I think over the last year, the thing Sam Prendergast is brilliant at managing an attack, but it's something Ben you picked up countless times is like, is he a game management guy? Not really, at least at this point in his career. So it's interesting if they're looking at that potentially as him to come off the bench with Finn Russell starting or even Marcus starting. Or the opposite of Marcus Smith being the guy who comes on and tears things up a little bit and changes things. That you've got 3 very different fly halves, allowing you to play 3 very different styles of play, which is intriguing. And none of them are necessarily outright the Andy Farrell way that we've seen in past.
With that in mind, though, if you're Australian, that's quite hard to defend. If you flip that on its head, you get 60 minutes into a test match and a completely different 10 comes on, it starts calling completely different shapes. That must be pretty confusing to defend against, right?
Yeah, it is. And I think like you've got guys there that can break the game up in different ways. And I think that's the key, isn't it? Because to do the level and the layered attack that Ireland do and play that system, that takes time. So that was always the debate. Does someone go in that knows it, can slot in? And how much of that shape will we see? But looking at the team as a whole, as Coley mentioned, I don't see it's a team that wants to overpower you as such, but more speed on the floor, speed around the park, and go for that mindset. So like they're all great rugby players. The question I have got for you though, to you two, as Welsh fans, are you happy with just the 2 Welsh lads in it?
I was confident we'd get at least one in, which is fine. You know, I think Jack Morgan is both one of the best players available of the whole lot and has been playing unbelievably well. I kind of felt like 5 was the absolute ceiling, and that was fantasy land if he'd got there. Yeah, so I was kind of expecting 2 players for about a year.
Honestly,
I've kind of had it in mind. These will be the 2. So.
Absolutely delighted for those 2 because, like, at the end of the day, Wales there's quite a distance between them and I guess you'd say Scotland are kind of the 3rd best of the 4. And Farrell's picking the best team, and it doesn't, I don't think it really matters how many of them are Welsh.
At the end of the day, right, the main takeaway here is that, yes, there are fewer Welsh players than perhaps have been on the previous tours, from my time watching. But that means there's even more players I can embrace as being my guy, Like, I get a chance to cheer for Maro Itoje this time. But, I'm so excited for Tommy Freeman to be my guy and to cheer for Tommy Freeman.
I've never cheered for a team with Ben Earl on it, and I've always wanted to because I'm always jealous of how good he is.
Yeah, that's a really exciting thing about Lions Tour. Is yes, there's only 2 Welsh players, but there are 36 players that can now be my guy and I can cheer for as if they were.
No, I agree with that. And I was delighted for Thomas Williams because I'm a big fan of him. So to see him, I think Jack Morgan, for me, he was always going to be picked. You never quite know because the back row was so stacked, but I always felt like he's been terrific.
Ben Young snubbed.
Yeah, I know. Well, me and Cole, when the forwards got named out straight away, I was, sorry, mate, you're gone. Early doors, wasn't it? So, no good. Mate, thanks for jumping on with us. Appreciate it. Awesome stuff. And, here's to a great tour.
Absolutely.
Likewise.
All right. Likewise. Looking forward to it.
Love Squidge and his brother. Both of them are Squidge Rugby.
They're rugby boffs.
They are.
Rugby boffs. And they're happy. And a couple of Welsh lads in there, so they are happy because they weren't sure. So, that is the Lions squad. There we go. Speaking to lads getting picked, like their raw emotion, just like how good was that? Speaking to, of course, Maro and Andy Farrell, brilliant. The debate is now over, Coley. We know who's going. How good?
We'd love to hear your thoughts on the squad. So if you're watching on YouTube or listening on Spotify, leave a comment and let us know.
We'll be back on Monday, and I'm catching up with Will Genge. How good? And we'll be talking all things down under. Australia team, Lions. What a guy. See you Monday. Thanks so much for listening.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.